Greetings, everyone. Hello and welcome. My name is Daniel. Thank you for joining me for class today. We're back on the beach this evening. We've moved to a different beach location, but I'm still having fun at this location, so thank you for joining me today. Coney is here as well. He'd like to say hi. Well, yeah, today we have more of a beginner-focused class. I'm just trying something new as far as structuring classes during the week. As far as for the evenings, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, what I'm hoping to do is have a beginner, level 1, and level 2 class for each of those days. And that way it just makes it a little bit easier if you're looking for a certain level, which I've gotten requests for. You can wait for that particular day. But either way, all classes are for everyone. They're still all levels. This one's just going to be a little more beginner focused. So if you are new to yoga, you'll be right at home here. Even if you're more of an intermediate or advanced practitioner, you're still going to get a lot out of this. It's always good to go back to the basics. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started in a moment. Again, my name is Daniel. We're doing these live streams here. If you'd like to donate, links are in the description. Hope you all have a great weekend. It's Monday evening, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's get started on your backs. And while you're on your backs, I want you to go ahead and start with your knees bent, your feet on the floor, and see if you can start by walking your feet out to the width of your mat and letting your knees fall into touch. If you can't quite separate your feet all the way out and still have your knees touch, just try and have your knees touch and walk your feet out as much as you can then. They may not reach the entire width of the mat, that's fine. And while you're lying down here, just take a couple deep breaths. Coney tries to break free. Just start to deepen your breathing. Just nice long inhales and exhales. And now from here, while you're on your back, just go ahead and start to let your knees drop from side to side. And so what that looks like is just letting them gently rock from one side and gently releasing to the other side. You can go at your pace. Maybe you try to inhale as you drop your knees off to one side and exhale as you drop your knees off to the other. Just keep swaying back a couple more times. And just come back to center. Okay, now you're going to separate your feet hips width distance and knees or hips width distance. And now once you have both of those hips width distance, go ahead and curl your knees into your chest and flex your feet. And now with your hands wrapped either around your shins or your thighs, just gently rock from left to right here. And just gently rocking. You don't need to go too far here. Your knees do not need to drop from side to side. Just keep gently rocking here. We're gonna let Coney back in and see if he wants to play. Keep rocking from side to side. And just come back to center. Now we'll hugging your knees into your chest, take a big inhale. And exhale. Okay, now let's extend both legs out. And bring your heels to the ground. Now from here, I want you to make this an active and engaged pose. So your heels are to the ground, your feet are still hips width distance, and your toes are curled. So with your toes curled, feet are flexed, the toes are coming back toward your face, and the toes are really facing straight up towards the ceiling. You should feel the muscles in your legs start to engage, and have your arms down by your sides, palms faced up. Just gently start to engage the muscles in your arms and your low back. Just want this to be more of an active rather than a restorative pose at this point. Now what I want you to focus on is your inner thighs. See if you can hug your inner thighs in and down towards the mat. So see how that feels to hug them in and down towards the mat, those inner thighs. You're kind of spinning them in. This might make your knees come a little bit closer together rather than falling out to the sides. Take one more inhale as you're still engaging here. And exhale, just release that. Let your knees fall out to the side, let your feet fall out. And just take a breath here. Okay, with your arms still down at your sides, palms face up, let's come back into that more engaged pose. So your feet should still be hips width distance. Feet are flexed, toes point up towards the ceiling. As you draw them back toward your face, engaging those muscles in your legs. Arms are lightly engaged. Just gently press the shoulder blades into the ground. And again, spinning those inner thighs in and down towards the mat. Should draw those knees a little bit closer together. Take an inhale here. And exhale. Okay, now just release that. And let's hug both knees back into your chest. And just give a nice gentle squeeze. Now keep holding on your right knee, and you're going to extend your left leg forward, left heel comes to the ground. Now we're going to switch that. So left knee comes back in, right leg extends, right heel to the ground. And we're going to switch that on your breath. So inhale as you extend one leg, exhale as you extend the other and hug the opposite in. Now if you want to ramp this up a little bit, you can keep the heel off the ground. So that extended leg, when that leg comes out, you can try and keep that heel off the ground. Otherwise, when you extend, just place that leg to the ground. And again, just connect with your breath. You're inhaling as you're extending one leg, exhaling as you extend the other. Keep going a couple more times each side. We're just waking up the legs here. Okay, now let's draw both knees back into your chest. Extend that right leg forward again. And I love doing this to open up the hip in the beginning. So let's take this right palm, place it to the outside edge of that right hip. Take this left palm, place it on top of that left knee. And as your both feet are flexed, both your left and right foot are flexed, toes are coming back toward your face. Let's go ahead and make some circles with that left knee. Just make some gentle circles, almost as if you're drawing a circle on the ceiling or on the sky, whatever you're looking up to. But keep your right hip grounded. So if you're making your circles a little too big where your right hip comes up, just decrease them slightly. Now let's switch directions. Switch directions in this circle rotation. Again, keep just gently pressing that hip down. Try not to let it raise up. And just come back to center. Let's draw the right knee to meet the left. And now let's extend that left leg forward now. Left heel to the ground. Place your left palm to the outside of that left hip. Right palm on top of that right knee. Flex both feet. And let's make those circles with that right knee this time. You can go at your pace, just not too quickly. Just as long as you're bringing some awareness to that left hip, and if it starts to rise up as you make your circles, just decrease them slightly. Maybe while you do this, you bring some awareness to that inner thigh, that left inner thigh, you're hugging that in and down. And let's go ahead and switch that rotation. Keep both feet flexed in this, both legs are still engaged. One or two more rotations here. And come back to center. Now hug both knees back into your chest, give a gentle squeeze. Okay, now stay here. You still have your arms wrapped around either your shins or your thighs, wherever you are. But bring some awareness to that low back. See if you have a little bit of an arch in that back. I want you to take one of your hands and see if you can slip it underneath your low back. You might be able to, you might not. But see, what we want to actually do is reduce that arch in that back. So bring both arms around your thighs again, or your shins, and see if you can hug your navel in and down to kind of reduce that arch. Your entire low back may not come completely to the ground, but you are trying to reduce that arch a little bit. So you're hugging your navel in and down towards your low spine. Take an inhale here. And exhale. Alright, now from here we're going to come up to seated. So you have a couple different ways of coming up to a seated cross-legged seat. You can either just let your legs fall out to the side and you can get up that way. If you want, you can rock up and forward down your spine a couple times as you come up. And maybe when you come up, you cross your legs. We're just coming to a cross-legged seated to start. So just get up whatever way works for you. And I always like to remind people here, when you're in this position, you can always sit on something. So if you have some blocks, if you want to roll up your mat, if you just have a pillow with you, it's almost always helpful to sit up on it. And if you just want to see how it feels, you can always do that. What it really helps is to correct that pelvis, because a lot of times we want to slouch over. And so by sitting up on something, sitting closer to the edge, it starts to dump our pelvis forward a little bit, creating more length in that spine. So sit here first and place your palms on your knees. Root down through your sit bones, whatever you're sitting on, either your ground, the mat, block, pillow, and rise up through the crown of your head. Slight tuck of the chin, take an inhale here, and exhale. Let's just begin to make some gentle circles. So we're going to make some circles with our entire torso. So you can start whatever way you want to. We're going to send the heart forward and send the heart back, making circles. Maybe start kind of small. And as you get more comfortable, you start to ramp it up. Now, same thing when we're on the ground, we want to reduce any hips or sit bones from coming up, so make sure both of those stay rooted as you make your circles. We're just gently loosening up the spine here. Maybe you're moving to your breath, maybe you're moving to the music. And let's switch directions in that rotation. You can get your whole spine in on the party on this one. Sending the heart forward and back. Just do a couple more of this side. And come back to center. Okay, come back to stillness and center. Take an inhale together. And exhale, release. Alright, let's wake up the arms a little bit. I always like to teach these internal and external rotations. You're going to see them show up in pretty much every pose that you do in yoga. So let's go ahead and work these. So let's extend our arms out to the sides, palms face down. So from here, we're going to work our internal rotation. So internal rotation of the arms at the shoulder socket. The thumbs are going to come down, the palms face back. Maybe you can rotate a little bit more to where the palms start to face up. This is internal rotation. Now release that, keep your arms extended out, palms still face down. And now we're going to work on external rotation. External rotation, thumbs come up and back, palms face up. External rotation. Okay, release that, come back to neutral. And make sure you're trying to rotate at the shoulder socket, not just the forearms. So let's try that again. Internal rotation, so thumbs come down, palms face back. Maybe palms start to face up. And release that back to neutral, palms face down. And let's work on external rotation. So thumbs come up and back, palms face up. And release that back to neutral. Just release those arms down to the sides. Let's add a little bit of a twist to this. So let's inhale, both arms up, chest up, look up. Exhale, turn to your right, release both arms out to the side. Inhale, back to center, both arms up, palms touch. Exhale, turn to your left this time, both arms outside your left leg. Inhale, both arms up, palms touch. Exhale, release both arms to the outside of the right leg. And inhale, both arms up to center. Exhale, release both arms to the left this time. Inhale back to center. We're going to stay here. And exhale, hands down to the center of your chest and down to the sides. Now from here, let's just add a little bit of a lean. So let's inhale, both arms up, chest up, look up. Exhale, drop that right hand down. Extend that left arm up. Keep that left sit bone rooted as you just create some length on the left side of the body. Stay here for one inhale. And exhale. Now bring both arms up to center. Palms touch. Exhale, drop that left arm down. Extend that right arm up. Again, keep that right sit bone rooted. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, both arms come to center. Now drop your right arm down again. Extend that left arm up. Maybe you try and externally rotate that left arm so that left palm faces back. There's our external rotation. Stay for a breath. And inhale that left arm up to meet the, right arm to meet the left. Drop that left arm down. Extend that right arm up. Again, maybe externally rotate that right arm so that right palm faces back. Stay for a breath. And exhale, left arm comes up to meet the right. And release both arms down to the center of your chest and down to the sides. Okay, let's come into child's pose. So if you're sitting up on anything, you can remove those. And now, from our child's pose, we have a couple options here. You can have your knees hip width distance, you can have them to the width of your mat, or your knees can touch with the tips of your big toes touching. From here, you're going to start to sit your hips back towards your heels and extend your arms forward. Now, if your forehead doesn't quite reach the mat, you can always place a pillow or a block underneath it. But I want your arms to be extended in this position. Tops of the toes, tops of the feet should be on the ground, and you're just gently pressing your hips back towards your heels as much as you can. Want to avoid any pain, but you might get a nice little stretch here. Now, if you're on a block under your forehead, go ahead and remove that. Place it off to the side. Keep both arms extended out. Now from here, I want you to press your palms down into the ground and start to lift your forearms up off the ground. So you're making this more of an active pose now. And if your forehead doesn't reach the ground, you're just going to let it just gently hover, slightly tucking your chin into your chest. Otherwise, your forehead is on the ground. Keep lifting those forearms up. You're pressing the palms down into the ground. And now from here, try and work that external rotation. Now your palms are going to still stay on the ground, but you're going to try and externally rotate so your shoulders separate out from each other. See how that feels. Just how when we were leaning, we're externally rotating. It's still an engaged pose. Take one more breath here. And release. Okay, so we're still in our child's pose with our arms out in front of us. Now, we're going to go through just an exercise now. So we're trying to do external rotation with our forearms lifted off the ground, pressing our palms in. Now what I want you to try and do is internal rotation. So obviously your palms aren't moving in this, but it's the action at those shoulder points that matters. So we're going to try internal rotation now. So with your forehead either on the mat or slightly hovering, press the palms down. Arms should be nice and straight. Lift the forearms up off the ground, and this time internally rotate. So if you internally rotate, maybe the insides of your elbows start to face each other. Your elbows start to wing out slightly. This might actually feel uncomfortable simply because this isn't the normal way. This isn't really the, I want to say, correct way of doing this pose, or really any pose right here. So this internal rotation, I just want you to do it just to see how it feels. So internally rotate, pressing the palms down, lifting the forearms out, the elbows kind of stick out. The insides of the elbow creases start to face each other. And you might feel some crunching kind of in the neck and the shoulder joint. So let's go ahead and release that. Release the palms down. And now let's do external rotation one more time. So external rotation is the correct way of doing this. Just wanted you to feel how internal rotation is. So again, with your arms extended out, press both palms into the ground. Arms are nice and spread, shoulder width distance. Lift the forearms up. You're straightening those arms, and now you're externally rotating. So when you externally rotate, the insides of those elbows start to face up, and the actual outside elbows start to face down. Your collarbone should start to broaden away from each other, and you should feel a nice active engagement in your shoulders. Try and gently draw the backs of the shoulder blades together. Stay for one more breath, and release that. Okay, we're going to come back to that later, but go ahead and press yourself up. We're coming into tabletop. And by later, I mean very soon. So, in tabletop, you may need to have some cushion underneath your knees. You can always fold up your mat if you want. You can always sit on another mat if you need to. But we're going to be here for a minute or two, so just do what you need to pad your knees. Okay, so now we're in tabletop, and to come into here, you want your hand directly beneath your shoulders, and you want your knees directly beneath your hips. Tops of the feet are to the ground, and you're gently hugging your navel in and up to create a nice long spine. Now make sure your shoulders are directly over your wrists, your arms are nice and engaged. Now here's where we're going to work on internal and external rotation as well. So we're going to start with one arm for each rotation. So start to shift a little bit of the weight into your left arm. Raise your right arm off the ground. Now externally rotate it. So you're externally rotating so those fingers come out and then they face back. They may not face all the way back toward your knees. They may just face out, but we're working on that external rotation. Once they externally rotate to your capacity, just drop your hand down. And you're just lightly here. You can bend your elbow if you need to. But now let's reverse that. So let's shift a little bit of the weight into the left side. Lift that right arm off, that right hand off the ground. Internally rotate it back to where we started and drop that right arm down. Now let's work on the other side. So let's shift some of the weight into that right arm. Lift that left hand off the ground. Keep that wrist bent. Now we're going to externally rotate, which means those fingers and thumbs come out and face back as far as you can. And then you're going to drop that left palm to the ground. Maybe it's easier to see it here. So with that left arm, you're rotating it out and dropping it to the ground. Now from here, we're just going to reverse that. So we're going to lift that left hand back up and rotate it back to neutral position. Okay, so that's external rotation from the arms in tabletop as well. So go ahead and press your hips back towards your heels from your tabletop. And I have a couple options for sitting. We're sitting in Virasana. You can either sit your hips back on your heels. If you need a block or two, you can place a block in between both feet and just sit up on a little bit of cushion that way. And if even this is just too much for you, you can just come and sit into your cross-legged seat as well. Whatever works for you. Okay, we're just going to release the wrists a little bit. So gently clasp your fingers together, not all the way up to the webbing, but maybe about 1 or 2 knuckles deep. And now from here, place the palms of your wrists together, and let's just make some gentle figure eights with it. It's just one of my favorite exercises to release the wrists. Now go ahead and reverse direction in your figure eights. Like an infinity symbol, I like to think of it that way as well. Just go at your speed, whatever works for you. And just go ahead and come back to stillness in the center. And release the hands down to the sides. Okay, we're going to work more of that internal and external rotation, but we're going to come up to standing. So, come up your way to standing. So if you need to send your legs off to the sides, if you have your legs crossed and you want to press forward into tabletop, either way, we're just coming up to a standing position. Now you can be at the top of your mat, you can be at the middle of your mat, wherever you need to be just for this exercise. Now, make sure your feet are hips width distance, heels behind those center toes, and start with your palms down by your sides. Now when your palms are down by your side, your arms are actually slightly externally rotated. So just kind of play with it. See with your arms down by your side, see if you can internally rotate so your thumbs come in and back so that your palms face forward, maybe they face out. And then release back and see if you can just externally rotate a little bit more so that your palms face out this time. So again, here we have internal rotation, thumbs come forward, palms face out. And external rotation, thumbs come forward and out, palms face forward, maybe they face out slightly. Okay, just release that. We're going to do that with our arms extended now. So extend both arms out, palms face down. And here we go. Just like we were doing when we were seated, let's do internal and external rotation. So internally rotate to start, so thumbs come forward and down, palms face back, palms face up. And release back to neutral with the palms facing down. And external rotation. So thumbs come up and back, palms face up. And release that back down to neutral position, palms face down. And let's internally rotate, thumbs come forward and down, palms face back. And release back to neutral. And thumbs come forward, up and back, palms face up. Okay, just release that. Maybe shake out your arms, shake out your legs a little bit. Now we'll come back to that later. Let's go ahead and start moving a little bit. So, start at the top of your mat, feet are hips width distance, heels behind those center toes. When I say that, just to describe that, what I mean is the heel of your foot should be aligned behind your center toes. So like your second and third toes, if you were to draw a line from the middle of your toe and between those toes, that's where your heel will be. And so basically your feet are nice and parallel. Now, not everyone has like rectangular feet. Some are more triangular and whatnot. And so it's kind of hard to imagine. So that's where that heel to center toes comes into play. That way you don't have to really worry about the edges of your feet, seeing what they look like. But now, from here you're going to actively press down through all four corners of your feet. And as you do that, you're going to try and lift your frontal hip points up to your front bottom ribs. While you do that, try and draw your tailbone down towards the heels. And with your arms down by your sides, palms face forward, try and broaden through your collarbones. Separate those collarbones away from each other. Try and breathe into those back ribs. And soften the shoulder blades away from the ears. This is our Tadasana, our blueprint mountain pose. Take an inhale here. And exhale. Now let's inhale those arms up, chest up, look up. So palms come together over your head. You're looking up to your capacity, trying to keep your arms straight. If your arms don't come all the way over your head, they can come forward slightly. Stay for a breath. Okay, now we're going to exhale and we're going to bend our knees. And we're going to release our hands down. Bend your knees, forward fold at your hip crease. Knees can be bent as much as you need to. Keep those feet hips width distance, and with the knees bent, release the arms down and grab opposite elbows with each hand. We're coming into our ragdoll, so when grabbing opposite elbows, try and let the head hang in between both arms. You're still actively pressing down through all four corners of the feet. And now remember when we were sitting down, I had asked you to spin your inner thighs in and back? We're going to come back to that now. So see, maybe your knees are starting to fall away from each other. So try and spin those inner thighs in and back to see if those knees come a little bit closer together. What that's going to do is more correctly align all of your bones of your legs and up to your body so that you get a little bit greater stability when you're standing here. Stay for one more breath in your forward fold. And exhale, release the arms down. Now, place your hands on your shins, right below your knees. We're coming into halfway lift, so first place your hands on your shins right below your knees, and now start to straighten your back
to see if you can get a nice long elongated spine. Slightly tuck the chin. Keep spinning those inner thighs in and back. And then maybe starting to straighten your legs from here. Arms should be nice and straight, and gaze should be maybe 2 or 3 feet in front of those toes. Stay for a breath. And exhale. Bend the knees. We're coming back down into our forward fold. And this time release your hands down. Now your hands may either come all the way to the ground with the palms touching, your fingertips may come to the ground, or in your forward fold you may be here with your hands at your thighs. Either way, stay for a breath. And exhale. Alright, we're coming back up to standing, but before we do that, press through all 4 corners of the feet. Spin those inner thighs in and back. You're engaging your legs, and while you're doing that, let your arms come out and up. You're going to raise your chest up. You're going to look up, palms touch. Staying here for a breath. And exhale, release those hands down to the center of your chest and down to the sides. Alright, just go ahead and shake that out a little bit. I know we're being very particular about a lot of poses here, but this is just a really good way, as this is a beginner class, it's good for both beginners and intermediates to kind of check in. A lot of these internal, external rotation, rotating the inner thighs, you're going to see these pop up in a lot of the poses that you do following this. So let's go ahead and do some of those. So start at the top of your mat, feet or hips width distance, heels behind those center toes, just like we started. Release the arms down to the sides, palms face forward. Soften the shoulder blades away from the ears. Take an inhale. And exhale. Now let's inhale, arms up, chest up, look up, palms touch. Exhale, we're going to forward fold. Bend at that hip crease. Press those feet into the mat. Spin those inner thighs in and back. Let's place those hands on the shins. Lift up, halfway lift again. Looking for your torso to be parallel to the ground. Slight tuck of the chin. Maybe start to straighten those legs. Exhale, bend the knees, release back down. Now, place both palms on the mat and bend your knees as much as you need to in order to make that happen. Now, once you have both palms placed on the mat, press them down and send one foot back and send the other foot back and drop to your knees. So we're in a modified plank here on our knees. And now from here, while we're here, again, I want you to try and engage those arms and see if you can work that external rotation at the arms. They might not move that much. You can try to internally rotate to see how that feels. But as we externally rotate, that's what we're going for while we're in this pose here. So maybe it'll help to see if I face you as well. So while I'm here, if I externally rotate, the creases of my elbows start to come forward and my elbows start to face back. Now, if I internally rotate, the opposite happens. The elbows start to face out, the elbows almost start to face forward while the creases start to face back. So we're looking for external rotation here. The elbow creases are going to face forward, the elbows come back, and you'll see why we do that. So, while we're here, we're still on our knees in our modified plank pose. Now we're going to externally rotate those arms. Your arms are still engaged. Now we're going to shift our torso forward and we're going to bend our elbows back and lower all the way to the ground. Now lower your torso all the way to the ground, forehead to the mat. And now, in order to do this, you needed to bend your elbows back. In order to bend your elbows back, you needed to externally rotate your arms. So now curl those toes back under and press yourself back up into a modified tabletop, kind of like where we were before. So if you were to internally rotate, your elbows would come out. So if you're internally rotating here and trying to come forward and down, see how my elbows come out? We're not looking for that. What we're looking for is external rotation so the elbows come back when you lower. So let's go ahead and try that again. So you're in your modified tabletop. Toes can either be curled under or flat to the ground. Again, try and externally rotate those elbow creases, come forward.
And now as you shift your torso forward, you're going to bend those elbows back and you're going to lower all the way to the ground. Shift those toes back so that your entire body's on the ground and your elbows should be facing back. So let's add a little back bend here. So make sure the tops of your toes are on the ground. Press your hips down into the mat. Press the tops of your feet, tops of the shins, tops of the thighs, all into the mat. Press your hands into the mat, draw the backs of your shoulder blades together, and on your inhale, lift your head up and your chest up into a baby cobra. We're looking for more length here rather than height. Keep drawing the backs of the shoulder blades together, pressing the hips down into the mat. Stay for one more breath. Exhale and release. Okay, we're going to curl those back toes under. Now engage the muscles in those arms. Press yourself up in a tabletop. Keep externally rotating those arms, and you're going to press yourself back into your child's pose. So uncurl those toes, either bring the tops of the toes to the ground. Knees can either be to the width of the mat, or they can be hips height or hips width. And pressing yourself back into tabletop with your arms forward. Place your forehead to the mat, or you can place it on a block. Either way. Staying here for just a breath or two. Okay, so we're coming back into where we were before. We were here in child's pose again when we were instructing that internal and external rotation. So maybe that didn't make sense to you, but now's an opportunity to try it again. So you're going to press those palms into the mat, lift your forearms off the mat, and maybe you try and externally rotate your arms again so that the elbow creases start to come forward, maybe they face each other, and the elbows almost start to like face back. You can quickly internally rotate to see how that looks, see how my elbows are flaring out. That's internal rotation, which is what we don't want here. We want external rotation so the elbows come back and the elbow creases face forward. So your arms are off the ground, foreheads are off the ground. Forearms are off the ground. Try and keep your forehead down. Take one more inhale. And exhale, release those arms back to the ground. So keep your forearms on the ground. Keep your palms down on the ground. Press your hips up off your heels. We're coming into a modified tabletop on our forearms. So, here we are. Hands are shoulder width distance. Elbows are shoulder width distance. They should be directly underneath your shoulders. And knees are still hips width distance with the tops of the feet to the ground. Let's do some cat-cows in this modified tabletop here. So let's start with our cow. Let's inhale as we drop our navel, send our heart forward, lift the head up. Reverse that, exhale, round the back, separate the shoulder blades, let the head hang heavy. Reverse that, inhale, arch the back, send the heart forward, lift the head up. And exhale, round the back, separate the shoulder blades, let the head hang heavy. Let's do 2 more times. Inhale as we arch our back, chest up. Exhale, round the back, separate the shoulder blades, let the head hang heavy. And inhale as we arch our back, look up. Exhale, last cat as we round our back, separate the shoulder blades, and release back to neutral position. Now from here, place your hand underneath your shoulder, another hand underneath your shoulder. Curl those toes under. Now you're just going to press yourself back, and we're coming to sit on our feet, and we're coming up to stand this way. So you roll back onto your heels, and you just gently roll up your back to standing. Whew. Okay. Once you come up to standing, just shake it out. Maybe grab a little bit of water. Okay, so how do we see internal and external rotation in other poses? We also see it in our Warrior 2 pose. So let's come into our Warrior 2 pose. Let's start with legs nice and wide, about 1 leg's distance apart. Now again, starting with your feet nice and parallel, that's where again you have your heels behind those center toes. So it might look weird to look at the edges of your toes and see if they're parallel. So try and just imagine a line coming straight through the center of that toe, and make sure both are parallel to start. Bring your hands to your hips, take an inhale, and exhale. Now I'm going to start with my right leg. So let's externally rotate this entire right leg so that the right toes face forward. Now opposite, with this left leg, we're going to internally rotate those toes just so they come a little bit forward and the left heel comes back. Now we're looking for heel to arch alignment. So just how we were drawing a line between the center toes and the heel, we're going to do that the same way with our Warrior 2. So if you were drawing an imaginary line between the center toe and that heel of that front right foot, comes down your mat and it should intersect with the middle of that back left foot. So we're looking for heel to arch alignment in our Warrior 2. Now once we have that, you can bend that front knee. So bending this right knee over that right ankle, make sure that knee tracks over that right ankle directly over, and making sure it's tracking to the outside edge of that right foot. So it should track to the pinky side edge of that right foot. Now from here you're going to square your shoulders so it's squared with the long edge of your mat. Once you have that, you can extend both arms out, palms face down. Take an inhale here and exhale. Now press down through that right heel. Press down to the outer edge of that back foot, creating some nice length in that back left leg. Keep the shoulders squared to the side. Let's work on some internal and external rotation while we're here. So internally rotate while those thumbs come forward and down, palms face back. Externally rotate, thumbs come forward and up, palms face up. Reverse that internal rotation, thumbs come forward and down, palms face back. And external rotation, thumbs come forward and up, palms face up. Now, keeping both arms externally rotated so both palms face up, I want you to keep this front hand, this right hand, in that external rotation so that palm faces up. Now this back hand, this left arm, bring it back to that neutral position where we had the palm facing down. Now from here we're going to internally rotate. So internally rotating that back left arm. So now you have opposite, externally rotating this right arm, internally rotating this left arm. That might feel a little bit weird. Okay, bring them both back to neutral. Release the hands back to your hips. Straighten that front leg and bring both toes to face forward and just heel toe both feet back in to hips width distance. Okay, let's just shake that out a little bit. Okay, we're coming back to that. So come back to feet nice little one leg's distance apart. Heels behind those center toes, feet are nice and parallel. Now bring your hands to your hips. And we're coming back to that same side. So with that right leg forward, let's externally rotate so that right toes face forward. Internally rotate so those left toes face in. We're looking for that heel to arch alignment. If it doesn't line up, just heel toe that front foot to where it needs to be. Once you have that, you can bend your right knee so it's over that right ankle. Maybe it tracks over that right toe. And you're pressing down to the outer edge of that left foot. Square your shoulders to the side and extend both arms out, palms face down to start. Okay, remember what we did last time? We externally rotated this front right arm and we internally rotated this back left arm. Now, release that if you did. I'm just showing you both palms face down. We're going to do that as we reverse our warrior. So here we go. We're going to drop our left arm down, no rotation yet. We're going to lift our right arm up so we start to create some length. Now we're going to externally rotate that right arm as it comes up so that right palm faces back. Now if you're using this left arm for leverage, press yourself up. You're going to internally rotate this left arm, send it behind your back. Maybe the back of your hand comes to your lower back, or maybe it comes all the way in to wrap around that inner thigh. You're staying here in this bound reverse warrior. Keep making sure that right knee tracks to the outside edge of that right toe. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, release both arms back to neutral, both palms face down in your warrior 2. Straighten that front right knee and internally rotate so both feet face forward and heel to your feet back in. Drop your arms down and shake it out. Okay, let's do that other side. So, separate your feet out to one leg's distance apart. Place your hands on your hips. Externally rotate this left leg so those left toes face forward. Internally rotate those right toes. Look for that heel to arch alignment. I need to wiggle over slightly. Bend that left knee so it's over that left ankle, tracking to the outside edge of that left toe. Square your shoulders to the side. Extend both arms out, palms face down to start. And while we're here, we're going to do our internal and external rotation. So now with the left arm forward, we're going to externally rotate that so the palms face up. And with our right arm back, we're going to internally rotate so that palm faces back. Stay here for a breath. And exhale. All right, now release that, straighten that front knee, and send both toes forward, and heel toe those feet back into hips with distance. Shake it out a little bit, drop your arms if they're still up. So we're gonna go back into that warrior two on this side again, and hit that internal and external rotation for our reverse warrior. So, start in a nice wide-legged stance, heels behind those center toes. Let's externally rotate this front leg so those front toes face forward. Internally rotate this back leg, these right toes, but the right toes are slightly farther forward than the right heel. Make sure you have heel to arch alignment. Bending that left knee over those left toes. Left knee tracks over the left pinky toe. Extend both arms out with your shoulders facing towards the side edge of your mat. Start with both palms down. Take an inhale. And exhale. Now this front hand, this left hand, we're going to externally rotate it so the palm faces up. And we're going to drop this right arm down with that left arm externally rotated. Now lift off that back leg. Now we're going to internally rotate this right arm. We're going to send it behind our back. Maybe the back of that right hand comes to the lower back. Or if you want to go a little bit farther, maybe it comes to the inside edge of that left thigh. Trying to hug that left knee out towards his left pinky toe. Take an inhale here. And exhale, just release all of that back into warrior two. Straighten that front leg. Bring both toes to face forward. And release both hands down to your hips. Heel toe both feet back into center. And shake it out a little bit. Let's come down to a seated position. Have your legs extended out in front of you. And now from here, we're going to bring the bottoms of our feet together and let our knees fall out to the side. So while you do that, if you need to still sit up on something because you feel like you're falling back or you're arching your back too much, you can still sit up on a block, no problem. Sit up on whatever you need just to give you a little bit of elevation. And now extend both arms forward, grab the outside edges either of your ankles or your shins. Try and have your arms relatively straight wherever they're grabbing onto. Root down through those sit bones, rise up through the crown of your head, take an inhale, and exhale. Just gently letting those knees fall out to the side. So the reason why we went through all of that, and thank you for getting through that with me, is those rotations are very integral once you start to get into poses. So a lot of times when you're in a class, you'll just hear, go into warrior two, or go into child's pose, or go into tabletop or plank pose. What it starts to help to be conscious of where is what your legs and what your arms should be doing, rather than just what they should look like. The internal and external rotation is really going to help you kind of deepen your poses. And so we're going to get into more of that later this week. So if you are interested, just keep following along. I'm still live streaming classes this week. And we're going to dive deeper into the internal and external rotations. And you're going to see how they fall into other poses. So just stay for another breath here. And exhale as you release. Okay, if you're on a block, go ahead and come off that block. But still keep the bottoms of your feet together for a second. And now, you're going to keep your right knee bent and extend your left leg forward. So I'm just going to turn here. So keep your right knee bent, left leg forward. Now extending your left leg out, flex those left toes. Bring the bottom of that right foot into your left thigh. And if you need to, you can place a block to the outside edge of your knee. Now square your shoulders so that your heart is looking towards your toes. And we're coming into Janu Sirsasana, head to knee pose. So while we're here with our shoulders squared, our left foot is flexed. Take an inhale as you raise both arms up, palms face each other. And exhale, just a gentle forward fold at the hip crease. Try and keep your spine nice and elongated, still rooting down through both sit bones. You may not go very far. This is about how far as I go. Or you may go a little bit farther. But the idea here is to draw your chest toward your toes. Trying to reduce any rounding in the back. Trying to keep a nice long spine. Try and tuck that chin in towards your chest. You can release your arms down to the ground, or they can stay up with the palms facing each other. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, release those hands down to the sides, and press yourself back up. We're switching to the other side. So now I'm extending my right leg forward, I'm bending my left knee. Now the bottom of this left foot comes into that right thigh, and you're going to flex those right toes. Square both shoulder blades over that right foot, flex those right toes so they're coming back toward your face. Inhale as you root down your sit bones, raise your arms up, palms face each other. Keep that length in the spine. As you shift forward, bending at the hip crease, sending the heart towards those toes. You can keep your arms up with your biceps by your ears, or you can release your hands down towards the mat. Hands or fingertips come down towards the mat. Either way, you're drawing your chest and your heart towards those toes, trying to reduce any arch in your back. Slightly tuck the chin and to elongate that cervical spine. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, press yourself back up. And let's extend both legs out in front of you. Now from here, we're just going to add a little gentle twist before we finish up. So let's hug that right knee into your chest. Send that right foot to the outside edge of that left knee. Take your right hand, send it behind you, lift your left arm up. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale as you twist to your right. That left arm maybe comes out to the outside edge of that right knee. Keep pressing that right big toe into the mat. Inhale as you lengthen. And exhale as you twist. One more breath. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, twist. Okay, release that back to the center. Both arms come outside your hips. Extend that right leg forward. Bend that left knee this time. Left foot comes to the outside edge of that right knee. Press that left big toe into the mat. Release that left arm behind you. Inhale as you raise that right arm up. Exhale as you twist. Right arm comes to the outside of that left knee. And keep flexing those right toes, drawing them back toward your face. Inhale as you lengthen. And exhale, twist a little bit more. One more inhale as you lengthen. And exhale as you twist. Okay, release that. Both arms to the outsides of the hips. Extend both legs forward. Bend the knees. Wiggle yourself up forward a little bit. And we're coming onto our backs. So just hug your thighs or your knees or your shins and just gently roll onto your back. And once you're on your back, just extend your legs out straight, arms down by your sides, palms face up. You can let your knees and your feet fall out to the side as we come into our final pose of Shavasana here. Palms face up, releasing any bit of tension in the legs, letting them fall out to the side. Maybe your low back slightly draws down towards the floor. Shoulder blades hang heavy. And your gaze can start to soften or your eyes can close. just relaxing into your Shavasana. Begin to bring some awareness back into your body. You can wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can rotate your feet and your wrists. You can switch directions in those rotations. And come back to stillness. One last breath here in Shavasana. You can turn on to one side, gently hug your knees. Bend them slightly as you keep your feet on the ground, rotate onto one side. Once you're on one side of your body, take one breath here. And try and keep your gaze closed, your eyes softened as you use your top arm to press yourself up into a comfortable seated position to complete our practice. Once you're in your comfortable seat, your palms can either rest facing down or facing up on your knees, or they can come into the center of your chest. Thank you for practicing with me today. The light and love in me acknowledges and honors the light and love in each one of you. Thank you. Peace. Thank you all for practicing with me today. I know this one was a little bit different. My goal was to introduce you to some new concepts that you may not be familiar with, so that the next time you're in class or the next time you're in a pose, you start to think, what direction should my leg or should my arm be while I'm in this? And you can try it out when you're in a pose. try out both directions and just see what feels better for you. So I hope you enjoyed this practice. Plan to have two more evening classes this week, Wednesday and Friday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to build off of this a little bit, so come back if you'd like. If you have any questions, again, email me. All the contact links are in the video description. If you'd like to leave a donation for movable feast, that link is in there. If you just have any general questions or requests as far as different destinations we could go to, or different poses or sequences or concepts you'd like to explore, I'm always open for ideas. So thank you again for joining me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you again.